Have you ever noticed that some people remain surprisingly strong into their 70s and 80s, while others gradually become weaker, even though both seem to be keeping active? So, in our last video, we discovered one of the more important reasons. Muscle needs a mechanical signal. That's right, a mechanical signal. Resistance training provides that signal. Every time you challenge your muscles, you tell your body, these muscles are still needed. That remains absolutely true. But resistance training only tells the muscle to build. It does not provide everything the muscle needs to respond. So today's story begins with protein. Most people think protein simply builds muscle. That's only half the story. Modern research has revealed something many people don't realize. Protein has two equally important functions. It provides the building materials needed to repair and to build muscle, but it also provides an important signal, a nutritional signal that helps stimulate muscle protein synthesis. Once we understand these two roles, many of today's recommendations about protein after 60 will suddenly make much more sense. So, mechanical signal and nutritional signal are required for muscle protein synthesis. So, mechanical signal, as in resistance training or exercise, plus nutritional signal, which is the protein, especially the amino acid leucine, are needed. Protein doesn't simply provide nutrients, it also acts as an important nutritional signal. So, when you eat enough high quality protein, you don't just provide the raw materials to build muscle, you also help to switch on the muscle building process itself. So, as we get older, that nutritional signal becomes increasingly important because aging muscle responds less strongly than it once did. Among the amino acids found in protein, one, one particular one appears to play an important role. It's called leucine. You don't have to remember the name or buy specific leucine supplements itself. The important message is much simpler. So after 60, it's not just about eating some protein, it's about eating high quality protein, enough of the high quality protein to provide the nutritional signal, the signal and the building blocks to stimulate muscle growth and strength. So, young muscle versus older muscle protein synthesis responds to increasing protein intake. So, this brings us to another important concept in healthy aging. As we get older, our muscles simply don't respond as strongly as they once did. So, we call this anabolic resistance, resistance to muscle growth because we are getting older. So when we are younger, a moderate resistance workout together with an ordinary protein containing meal produces a robust muscle building response. However, as we age, that same workout, that very same meal produce a much smaller stimuli and a smaller response for that matter. Older muscle has become less responsive. That is anabolic resistance. And that is why many experts now recommend a stronger stimulus from both directions, the resistance training and the nutrition stimuli. So, a stronger mechanical signal through resistance training and a stronger nutritional signal through adequate good quality protein. Not because older muscles are failing, but because aging muscle behaves differently. Physiology has changed. This naturally leads to the next question. How much? How much protein do we actually need? The current Australian and US recommendations were developed primarily to prevent protein deficiency in healthy adults. Many healthy aging experts now recommend somewhat higher protein intakes for many older adults because of this anabolic resistance. This is particularly relevant if you have experienced a period of physical inactivity, perhaps recovering from illness. Then it is recommended that you take a higher protein amount. So this isn't about eating excessive amounts of protein. It's about providing aging muscle with enough protein to generate a strong nutritional signal and the amino acids needed to build and repair muscle. So around 1 to 1.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight each day is now commonly recommended by many expert groups for healthy older adults, although individual adults will vary. So the goal isn't to eat excessive amounts of protein, it's to provide aging muscle with a strong enough nutritional signal together with the amino acids needed to build and repair muscle. Ironically, the people who need protein the most are often the very people who eat the least. Appetite commonly falls with age. We have dental problems, illness, surgery, and cooking for one can make it all very difficult to eat enough protein. Those are exactly the situations where maintaining muscle becomes even more important. So these people often need more and better nutrition, not less. Protein supplements have an important place here, not as a bodybuilding supplement, not as a magic powder, but as practical nutritional support when adequate protein intake becomes difficult through ordinary food alone. For many older adults recovering from illness or surgery, they become part of good medical nutrition rather than sports nutrition. Another question naturally follows. Does it matter when you eat your protein? So current evidence suggests that consuming protein reasonably close to resistance training probably enhances the muscle building response. But don't become obsessed with the clock. So for most people, consistently eating enough good quality protein over the course of the day is likely to matter much more than finding the perfect minute. So consistency beats perfection. Protein isn't about preventing deficiency. It's about preventing muscle, preserving strength, preserving function, preserving independence. In other words, preserving health span. If you're enjoying this series, consider subscribing. Every episode builds on the last one because preserving not just lifespan, but more importantly, health span isn't about finding one magic answer. It's about understanding how the body changes with age, then making sensible decisions that work with the physiology rather than against it. So, what should you remember from today's video? In our last episode, we learned that muscle needs a mechanical signal. Today, we've discovered that aging muscle also needs a nutritional signal, and protein does both jobs. It provides the amino acids needed to repair and build muscle, and it provides the nutritional stimuli that helps to activate muscle building response, with lysine playing a particularly important role. So, as our muscles become less and less responsive with age, both the amount and the quality of the protein matter more than once did. So the goal isn't to eat as much protein as possible. The goal is to provide aging muscle with the right nutritional signal together with the building materials it needs to respond, because healthy muscle doesn't simply depend on exercise, on resistance training. It depends on the right mechanical signal, the right nutritional signal, and enough high quality protein to build and repair itself. In our next episode, we'll step back a little bit and look beyond muscle itself. We'll discover why muscle and bone form one integrated system, why stronger muscles help protect stronger bones, and why understanding that relationship changes the way we think about healthy aging.